There. So I am making this video as a support video for folks whose dogs I have trained on a remote collar, usually for off-leash activity. But I wanted to make sure that I gave you just the basics again so that you have reminders. So let's start. Everybody I have worked with uses the Mini Educator. You should make sure, if you see on the top of the screen, it says 1D. That means for one dog. And everybody I have trained, I have suggested you only use it for one dog. The number, which right now is 5, is the level of the electrostim. And then you see a C off to the right. That means continuous signal. You want it to be set on one dog with C for continuous signal. The alternative is an M, which means momentary. You can flip over to the back and you will see a button that has M and C on it. If you keep pressing that button, you'll be able to change the M to a C and vice versa. But always, you can consult a manual online or if you still have your print one. So you want it on continuous. The difference is that when it's on a continuous signal, when you hold the button down, it goes tap, 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 which is what you want. If it's on momentary, each press is a single electrostim. So it just goes zit and stops versus zit, 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 zit. So keep it on continuous and you'll be reminded why in a minute. Now, with all of your dogs that I have trained, I have already found their working level, the base level at which they first notice the electrostim. Just by way of reminder, the way that we do that is we set it on a very low number, like 5, maybe lower. We set the collar on the dog, make sure everything is turned on and charged. And we want the box with the stems on it to be low but not center. We don't want it on the trachea. We want it to be just off center. We don't want it up here. We want it down here. If that box is sliding, you don't have the collar tight enough. And the collar will be tighter than other collars. You should just be able to slide 2 fingers underneath those prongs. But if it's moving, when the dog moves, if after 5 minutes you notice it down here or up here, you need to tighten the collar. So you want that box low but not center, right about here on the dog. You want it set on C for continuous and on one dog, 1D up on the top of the screen. So when we're looking for their base working level that we start with, we have them in a quiet place, normally indoors. We put it on a very low setting, and then we start giving a tap to see at what level they start to notice the signal. So we're not looking for a yelp or a dramatic response. We're looking, it depends on the dog, for ear twitches, eye blinks, lip licking. Sometimes a dog will look around like they thought they heard a fly. It varies. If you're not sure about that, or if I didn't already tell you what your working level was, then maybe text me or call me and we can restart you on that. Anyway, you get to this bottom level, working level, and in a nutshell, as the distraction goes up, you will start finding a higher level number from that working level that the dog notices. So if a dog is at a working level in their living room of 5, they might need to be at an 8 or a 10 or higher when they're out on a leash walk. They might need to be even higher if they pass a pack of dogs. Because as the excitement level goes up, the distraction goes up, the dog may not notice the signal as much, and so you might have to turn it up to suit the occasion. So you have a red button and a black button. The black button, wait, let me back up. This button over here alone is for vibration. Unless I specifically told you that I used vibration, you should always use the electrostim, which is the red and the black button. A lot of dogs get freaked out by the vibration, much more so than an electrostim. And that is usually the case. I will try vibration. If I have worked with your dog, I will have tried vibration and ruled it out as a useful tool. Okay, so getting back to the electrostim. The black button is your everyday use. So when I push this down, it gives the dog a level 5. If I push the red button, that is a boost. Most of these, when you get them out of the package, the boost will take it up by 5. So if you can see this, when I hit the boost, it'll go to 10. So black button, the working level 5, and then, uh-oh, something's going on, I need to boost it. It'll take it up 5 more levels. So the boost is so that if you need a quick amp up in your signal, you can do that with the red button. You can also consult the user's manual, because I can't remember right off the top of my head, but you can change the boost level so that it's 10 numbers higher than your normal setting or higher. I would not suggest that you make it very high. I usually keep it at 5. With some dogs, I might change it to a 10. Okay, so what we're doing is, when we're using the collar, there are 2 levels of training, and it is important that you do both. You should never start out with a remote collar using it simply as a correction, because the dog has no understanding and no relationship with that signal. So you want to start out training in a way that builds a relationship with the signal, helps the dog understand it, gives them clarity. So we start with a level that is referred to generally as escape training. And what that means is that we teach a dog that when the signal goes on, if they comply with the command that they're being given, then they can make the signal go off by doing what is asked of them. So it puts them in control. I feel the signal, it's annoying. If I follow the directions or if I follow the command, the signal goes off. I can escape it. That is the most important level of training of all. Do not skip it. So what I have done with all of your dogs is I would start with off-leash recall as the means to build this relationship. So I would have the dog first trained so that they understand the word either come or here. For me, come means the human is standing still or standing in a doorway. I want you to come to me or come into the house. For me, the word here is more of a come walk with me. So the human continues to migrate, and the dog does not have to come and stop. So I have those 2 different words that I use in a dog's vocabulary. So whether it's here or come, either one will work if your dog has been trained by me. So I start out first making sure that I have trained the dog to understand the command. Because if the dog doesn't know the command, it is not fair for you to put this on them. So we teach the dog, let's say we're teaching them come. We teach them come, we drill in the house, short distances, so on and so forth. Then I put them on a long line and I let them get further from me. When they're on the long line and I say come, I give them a tug. So they're getting this boom, boom every time that they hear the word come. When they start responding beautifully to that, which doesn't take very long at all because they understand the command, then I add this. So I add it so that the first time they feel this, they feel it simultaneous to the tug. Every time they feel it initially, it's with this, so that I'm pairing those 2 signals so they understand, oh, okay, that's the same as this, the tug. I hold it down so that they're getting tap, 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 tap. And the minute that they turn to come, I take it off. So the minute that they make an authentic move to comply with the command, the signal stops. They're coming to me and I cheer them on. I encourage them the whole time they're coming. Now, if on their way back to me, they find a distraction and they head off the other way, I say the command again and I put the signal back on. When they turn back to me, I go. All the while, every time I'm giving them the tap, I'm also giving them the tug because I want them to have absolute clarity about what that tap means. Over time, I get rid of the long line and I just use the signal. So what I'm doing is I am making sure, 1, that they know the command before we even put them on a long line. 2, that they understand that the long line tug means is a support cue for the come command. And then finally, we add the electrostim. I would start out, if my dog's working level is a 5 or 10 or a 30, it depends on the dog, I would start out at that level, but the minute I drop that long line, if I'm not getting response from them, I'm going to immediately turn it up, probably by 5, and keep turning it up by increments of 5 until I see some response. In that instance, I might just leave the long line on them for safety, but not use it for tug, just let them drag it. Okay, so the idea is tap, tap, tap. When you turn, the signal goes off. You cheer them all the way to you. I use treats when I'm teaching dogs new concepts, and then I phase them out. But with the recall off leash, with the use of this, I may use treats for off leash recall for 6 months or a year. It depends on the dog. Your goal is always to be more interesting than the environment, and that can be a big challenge sometimes. So use anything that you have to make yourself interesting. So you are going to find yourself experimenting with different numbers, and that is okay. If you're getting to crazy high numbers and not getting any response out of your dog, you need to check and see if the connection to the neck is good. If you have a dog with very long hair, you may need to buy longer stem, longer prongs. You can Google all of this and find it. You can also go to eCollar Technologies, where they have a lot of information. That's who makes this. But that's going to be your first question. Is there a solid connection to the neck? So consider that. Also, if you're getting no response, make sure you got it turned on, because that's a common thing that we all forget to do. Okay, so you have escape training. That is a level at which I will practice for weeks until I feel like my dog is perfect at it with recall. You get a little bit further every time. You build up excitement and distraction every time. Baby steps. You start with practically no distraction, then a little bit of distraction, a little more, and a little more, and a little more. And you keep proofing them along the way. Can they handle that distraction? If they can't, then let's reduce distraction and let's dial it back a little bit. It's a judgment call. But what it means is that you need to be really attentive to your dog's response, and it's your job to be completely aware of everything in your environment. If you're spacing out, you shouldn't be holding this. If you're on your phone, you shouldn't be holding this. If you're on your phone, you shouldn't be walking your dog. You got to be aware of the environment, or you are going to set them up for unfair situations and failure. Okay. So I think that recall is the best way to build this relationship. But once you've built this relationship, you can then start using this for other commands. If I tell my dog down and the dog doesn't go down, I can give them a tap, and they're going to be like, oh, I recognize that. So you can start using this to make the rest of their obedience training even stronger. They start feeling the tap, and they know that until they start laying down, it's going to stay on, and then you let off. As soon as they start laying down, you let off. Or any other command for that matter. Leave it. And they're not leaving it. You have two dogs playing with each other, and you're telling one to leave it, and they don't leave it. You hold it down. The minute they come away, you release. So it's the exact same use, but as soon as you start to see compliance, you release. Now, if you're holding this down for continuous, it only goes like 10 or 12 seconds, and then it shuts off. So be aware that if you've got your dog out romping on the beach, if you've been holding this thing down for 10 seconds, you're going to need to restart, because after 10 seconds, it's a safety measure. It shuts off. Okay, so once you feel like you and your dog have mastered that escape component, then you move to the level that most people rush ahead to. Do not rush ahead. The next level is avoidance, and avoidance would be more of a corrective measure. So let's say that I don't want my dog to bark at passersby. We're sitting up on the deck. I don't want them to bark at passersby. So my dogs see somebody coming, they go to the gate, and I say, my word is leave it, to tell them not to do it. I will say, leave it, and if they bark, boom. And if they bark again, boom, and I will repeat, leave it. But the idea is, if you do that, you're going to get a signal. So if I see a dog who is heading, about to be reactive to another dog on leash, that's, again, a situation where I would give the dog a couple of directions. One is leave it, one is here, be with me, to get the dog's attention. But if I see the dog still posturing, I will then say leave it and tap. So it's more of a corrective measure. If you do the thing that I'm telling you not to do, or if you fail to do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to get a tap. I will hold it down only if they maintain a state of non-compliance. But most of the time when I'm doing the avoidance part, I told you not to do that, it'll be a tap version. Okay? Now, I would suggest that you not attempt to do you can probably do the escape training yourself. But when you want to work on avoidance, which is the more corrective type, like don't do it or you're going to get a signal. I suggest that you work with a professional to hone that if you haven't already been working with me or somebody else. In the alternative, there is one person who has a video that I believe you can buy on YouTube that is outstanding. It is worth every penny. I can't remember what it costs. It might be about $2.50. His name is Tyler Muto, M-U-T-O. He owns Canine Connection in Buffalo, New York, and he has the most outstanding remote collar training video. And it is worth its weight in gold. So if you are determined to do this on your own without coaching or help from a trainer, then please go find that and buy it, because it's totally worth it. Okay, so if you're one of my clients and you need more information, you can't remember something I told you, just text me and we'll check in. And if you're not one of my clients, but you want some direction, please feel free to contact me. The best way to do it is to text me. And if you text me, that's 502-909-2759. Again, 502-909-2759. And I'm Maureen Keenan with Downward Dog Canine Transformation, and my friends call me Mo. All right, over and out. Good luck, everybody.